Did you push the button?
Yeah, I just pushed the button.
It's alright, I can cut it out in my photo.
Yeah, sorry.
So can you tell us your name?
Name is Charles E. Newton Sr.
What branch of service were you in?
I went in the Army Air Corps, which after a year or so changed to the U.S. Air Force. There was no U.S. Air Force per se at that time. It was a part of the Army.
So what were your dates of service? When did you go in and when did you leave?
I went in February 7th. I left in November 47, I believe.
Do you remember what year?
November 47? 47.
Oh,
Yeah.
when were you born?
I was born in Yorkville, 8/16/28.
What kind of education did you have before you went into service?
I had 1 year of school, 9th grade, and I didn't go back.
What school did you go to?
Whitesboro.
Were you enlisted or were you drafted?
I enlisted.
What was your basic training?
Well, I went down to Mississippi to Biloxi at the Air Force Base. Was just slipped my mind. And Keesler Field Air Force Base in Mississippi. Went down there in the troop train and a large base, a lot of soldiers there.
What day, did you go down for training and how long?
Well, we went in on the 4th and we spent a week in New Jersey for some of the basics. Got inoculations, our uniforms, all in about 5 days before I went down to Mississippi.
Now, can you tell us a bit about the area? Like, what kind of training did you do?
Oh, we did. It was very intensive. We get up early in the morning, assigned to a squadron in a flight. Flight was a smaller division. And every day we had to go out about 8 o'clock in the morning, stay out there all day, come back in the evening and go to chow. They had about 10 mess halls there that served the troops. A lot of troops there. And we did exercises, we did training with the rifles and such, the equipment. Did quite a bit of stuff.
Now, have there ever been any accidents there at the training camp?
No, not really. Most of them were young fellas, and they were very good health. They didn't have any problems. And, nothing happened at the firing range. No, nothing really happened.
That's good. Did you witness any conflict or combat when you were in the force?
No.
None? What types of medals did you get?
I got the World War II Victory Medal, the Army Occupation Medal, and the Pistol Sharpshooter.
Can you show us the medal you have today?
I just brought in the one medal because the others haven't been sent yet. You want to see this?
Pretty nice looking medal. Oh, is that gold one a pin? Is this gold one a pin?
It all came together.
Ah, it's very nice. Now, where are the missing medals?
They're on back order.
Ah,
I got the awards, but they didn't issue the medals for quite a while. So I went down and they got this one for me, and the other two are on back order.
what was your rank?
PFC.
What does that stand for?
Private first class.
What was your title?
Private first class.
What were your daily responsibilities?
I should backtrack a little bit. After basic, I went to radar school in Florida for 23 weeks. And also, when we signed up, enlisted, we were given the preference to go to whatever theater of war that was on. And I selected Germany. And so went down, went to school, radar school, and I requested my shipment to Germany. And that took place in Florida, back to New Jersey.
Mm-hmm. What was the commanding officer like?
I don't know, I never seen any commanding officer. Just see the sergeants and whatever, and the lieutenants, a few captains.
What were your friends like? Did you have any friends there?
I had a lot of friends, a lot of good fellows at each place that I went to, and we, when I went overseas and finally wound up in Wiesbaden, it was the headquarters for the Air Force. General Curtis LeMay was the headquarters, was the commander of the Air Force station there. I didn't often see many high officers. We were always busy.
So, what were your brothers? Weren't they in the war with you?
My brother Ernie was drafted, and he went to Germany. My brother Richard was drafted, and he went to the Philippines. They were all older than me, of course.
Did you ever get to see the brother that was in Germany?
What's that?
Did you ever get to see your brother who was in Germany?
Well, I seen him when he came home. He got out a little early because he was over there early in the war.
Did you have any things in common with anybody there?
No, I worked with a crew of radio repairmen, and we had like jobs. We were in a maintenance squadron and repaired radios, maintained them. Times we had to take them all out of the plane for a special check every 300 miles or flying miles, and tune them all up, pull them back. And occasionally had to reset the identification front or full, set in the back of the plane. That was a set that had dials all wired. And every few weeks, I get the call to go get the code, go back, remove the safety wire, reset the dials. And that was the procedure.
What kind of meals were there? What were the meals like?
Meals are pretty good overseas. They utilize German cooks and such to help out. So that was pretty good.
What was your favorite meal there?
Oh, I don't know. There were so many different meals. But, of course, I was at Bremen Air Base first, and then I went to Wiesbaden second.
So what did you do for fun while you were in the force?
Well, when we had spare time on the base, we played a lot of pinochle,
What's that?
double pinochle, card game. Put two decks together and play cards. Other than that, we get passes and you go into town. And,
What would you do in town?
we chase all the girls around. No, we go see the sights like everybody else. And,
What sights did you see?
well, it was in downtown Bremen, downtown Wiesbaden. I was in, I marched in a parade in Nuremberg to celebrate the surrender of the Germans. And things like that.
Did you have any pets?
No.
Was there a special person there? Maybe an idol, someone you looked up to maybe?
No, we were pretty much on the same level. I had some special duties, like I had to get up an hour earlier in the morning in V-spot and go out and pre-flight the radio equipment in the airplanes, call the tower, all that stuff.
Did you have a unique job when you were there? Maybe a job that you liked more than the others?
Well, that was kind of unique, and of course I got into working on the radios quite a bit. And going out there every morning and checking all the radios and signing the sheet that the plane was ready for flight. It was interesting.
How'd you get home?
Well, he came back on a victory ship.
What was the victory ship?
It was a rather large transport took 9 days to come back over the North Atlantic. Very rough. Bow was in and out of the water. I got seasick for most of the time. And they lined us up the first day. Went 1, 2, 3, you're on KP. 1, 2, 3, you're on KP. So I was on KP a good part of the time, even though I was sick.
Did you ever get sick when you were not on the boat, like when you were in Germany?
No.
Did you get any injuries maybe?
Well, I had, in V-spot, the mess hall was on the second floor. Yeah, I was going up the stairs and someone accidentally kicked me in the ankle. And slammed my ankle against the concrete. And I got blood poisoning. And I had to go get treated for blood poisoning. Penicillin.
Who was waiting for you when you got home?
Well, my mother, father, brothers and sisters, and my brother closest to me re-enlisted eventually. He was in for 20 years.
Wow.
But it was good to see everybody again.
Was there a dispatch exam maybe? A dispatch exam? Like when you left?
Discharged.
Oh, yeah, there was a procedure. He asked if we wanted to sign up for the reserves, and I said no. I had enough. And it was a good thing because a couple of years later, the Korean War started, I would have been over there. But fortunately, I wasn't in the reserves.
How was your military experience overall?
It was quite exciting because we did many things, met a lot of people. There was one thing that I thought of recently, never thought of before. I never seen any black soldiers in the service.
Never?
Never, which meant that separation of troops was status quo then.
Still segregated?
They were still segregated. And I never thought much about it either way. But I was just thinking about it in the past few days when I was thinking about coming here, and I realized that was the situation.
Now, was there ever like a special event maybe? Like what did you do on the holiday?
Well, there was a lot of things. I was told that if I went down to the flight line, this was in Florida, that I could probably catch a flight on the planes, which I did. And the pilots had to put in like 6 hours a month to stay on flying status. So they came in at night and took a plane out. So the pilot came in and he said, "You want to go up?" I said, "Yes." I said, "Check out the parachutes." got the parachutes on, climbed into this B-25, flew all over southern Florida, and one point I was in the back and I had to crawl over the wing up to the front, the wing crossed inside the plane, and sat in the nose of the plane, and seeing all the sights, and then he says, get out of the nose and we're going for landing because the wheel might collapse. So that was kind of exciting.
Did the wheel collapse?
No, the wheel was below the nose of the plane. There was always that possibility. And then overseas, we get the planes ready and they take them out on test flights. And I'd go up on the test flights occasionally. And it was a 2-engine plane, and they'd fly and they shut one engine off, test it, the plane, and they turn that on, shut the other engine off. Things like that was all kind of exciting.
That's pretty cool. Could you show us some of the pictures you have today?
I got a lot of pictures.
Well, you know what, Morgan, let's look at the pictures when the camera's on, so that I can take pictures of them.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll tell you what I would like to know about, and we can edit all this, is the Berlin Airlift.
Oh, the Berlin.
Yeah. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, well, as I say, I used to get up an hour earlier, go out and pre-flight the planes. Well, that morning, he said, notice that I didn't need to pre-flight planes. So I fell off a work call. We used to fall out our maintenance squadron in front of a hangar for a roll call. And when I went out there for a roll call, there were some 50 planes come in during the night. And we're all lined up on the grass and everything. And that's when they told us that the Russians had stalled the trip to Berlin on the only accessible road where they got the supplies into Berlin. And that's because part of the United States and England were occupying Berlin. So the president decided to put on the airlifts, and from there on we went on to 24-hour work. Shifted every week, we shifted the next shift. And it was a little more intense then. The planes flew out every 3 hours, and they were loaded with everything from coal to food and all that. They also were flying out of Frankfurt, and they were flying out of a base in England, British territory. And this is going on, we'd fly out, the next one to fly out the next 3 hours, and the other one to fly out, come back, same procedure, start all over again. So we were pretty well busy up to that point. Finally, they brought in some bigger planes from the States and started using some of them to help out. If I stayed a little longer, I'd probably wound up in Berlin because we're taking turns. And so that was quite exciting.
I bet that was neat to see that. So how long were you involved with that? Like what was the duration that you saw that?
Up until my time was up to go home, so I was there maybe, 3-4 months involved in that. But I remember that.
It's a pretty neat thing to see. And when you said you were in a parade in Nuremberg,
Well,
you said you were in a parade in
Yep,
Nuremberg? Yeah.
I also, they opened up a military school, radio school at Ansbach, Germany. And I thought since I was trained in radar and was working on radios, I thought I'd attend. So I volunteered. I spent a couple months there. I was a military school. I had to go to fly to Frankfurt, fly to Munich, take a train in Ansbach. First thing they did was issue us M1 rifles, which the Air Force used carbines, rifles. And they issued us M1s. We had to clean them up, get them ready. Then when the date came of the surrender, they got dress uniforms on, blue scarves. They took us down to the train depot, took us to Nuremberg, which was where Hitler gave all the speeches, and we marched in the victory parade.
Wow.
And that was kind of novelty, you know.
So then you were in at the very end of the war, is when you ended up...
The war officially ended in December 31st, 1946, because they had to occupy the countries.
Right.
You know what happened in Iraq when they tried to occupy.
Right.
So they didn't know what was going to happen in those countries. And they also had to set up the government.
Right.
They had no government. So we were, the first thing I got over there and signed at Bremen Air Base. They took us out in the rifle range to renew our familiarity with the carbine, just so in case anything happened. And I was told that in an emergency I had to be assigned as weapon carrier, or ammunition carrier. So they were, just in case anything happened, they were prepared. And so we didn't know. But as to say, everything was calming down, and fortunately nothing, there was no big uprising, and that worked out pretty well. But that made the war officially lasting a little over 5 years. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we had some alternative enlisting. They offered us a year of college and a year for each year we enlisted, so it was 4 years of college. While I was in Bremen, I took some correspondence courses that were put out by the USAFI, the Army Institution, and picked up some things I didn't know. And then when I was in Ansbach, 5 other Air Force guys, fellows and myself, took the equivalency exam there, given by an officer. We took one exam one night a week, took 5 exams. And when I got out, I took that to Utica College and was on the base of my test scores.
Great.
So I never got to finish high school.
But you got to go through.
Well, when I was in Wiesbaden, there was a soldier there that did the same thing, and he did it very poorly. And he got it back from Nebraska that he was going to get his high school diploma. So I had put mine away. I hadn't even thought about it. So I got it out. And I says, look at this. And he says, oh, that's great. Give it to the TI&E officer, and he'll send it in to New York for a diploma. So I did that, and it came back that I was too young. In New York State law, you had to be 21. And I was only 20 when I got out of the service.
So were you 17 when you went into the service?
17, a few months, 17.
Now, was that the law, like, could you go in at 17, or did you have to have permission with your
My mother had
parents?
to sign.
Okay.
And when I got out, finished that 1 year of high school, I went to work up at Griffiths and worked on airplane engines. That was interesting too. I got about 4 raises while I was there in 1 year.
Wow.
And then when I turned 17, I enlisted. So
Wow.
that was a violent war effort too.
And then you ended up getting your college paid for
Yeah, my
because of
college
the being in the Army.
And while I was going
The
to
Air
college,
Force,
I went to college first days, but then I decided I couldn't do that. I was going to get married pretty soon, so I was into plumbing. My father got me into plumbing. I went to apprenticeship school, became a journeyman plumber, and while I went to school nights. And I got my degree, a PS degree.
Wow.
So, and then eventually, a short while after that, I was the foreman on the first 3 buildings at MVCC. I was the foreman plumber on that, and I had about 12 plumbers working there with me. And I took the exam for the state architect's office, and came in 3rd, and was appointed assistant mechanical construction engineer.
Very good.
So it worked out quite well.
Yeah. So you can say that the military.
Oh, it was great
benefited you.
asset. I mean, I wasn't very smart when I couldn't hardly write a decent letter. I mean, it was that bad. But improved, and I worked out of Syracuse for 30-some years.
Wow.
I was in charge of all the mechanical inspection, plumbing, heating, electric, and elevators and such.
That's great.
And wound up with an associate superintendent of construction title.
Wow.
So it worked out quite well, and I did have something to gain. by going
Right,
to service.
right. So now, how old were you when Pearl Harbor was bombed?
I was in 8th grade,
Okay, so then,
and I remember distinctly, because I was a little scared that night when it was in the winter, and I heard the trains shuffling on the track, it make a lot of noise, and I was thinking maybe we were going to get bombed. And so I don't know, I must have been 14, so,
same age as granddaughter.
yeah.
So what do you remember about that particular day?
Well, everything kind of changed. We went into rationing. Everything was rationed. Food, gasoline, tires, cigarettes, which I smoked then. And metal was important. Everybody was turning in scrap metal. We were saving tin foil off the wrappers and everything. And of course, the draft had been started, the registration and then the drafting. And women got into working at Hartford, and because their men were going to service. It was kind of a drastic time, but we were getting along with it pretty good. And as far as the smoking went, when my first son was born, he's going to be 60 this year, I quit smoking. So it was quite a while back. I got rid of that habit.
So then, now were saying to Morgan that you have older brothers.
I was the youngest in the family.
Okay, and so were they drafted or did they enlist?
They were drafted, except my oldest brother had a deferment. Now, if you were essential to the war effort, or they needed you to work around the community, you had a deferment. And he had a deferment. And the rest of us were in the service.
Okay. So did you know when you were only in 8th grade when Pearl Harbor was bombed. Did you know that as soon as you could, you wanted to go? I mean, did you have that feeling?
Not right away. I didn't think I was capable at that
Okay.
time. I was just like Morgan there.
Mhm.
But as time wore on, I wanted to get involved. And it was very exciting. And a lot of good things happened. I remember when I was standing at roll call in front of the hangar, the officer came by and looked at me like that. And he says, "Soldiers, you shaved this morning?" I said, "I don't shave, sir." He says, "You better start." So that was kind of funny.
Yeah.
That's probably about 19, huh?
Oh, my goodness. So when you enlisted, did you tell them what service you wanted to go to, or what branch you wanted to go to?
What's, I enlisted in the Army Air Corps, and I told them that I wanted to go to the European Theater of Operations if I had to go. So that was cast in stone. And, I got done with the school in Florida, and I got into a little mix-up there, and I got kind of bored with it. I was supposed to be an instructor, but they had all the instructors they needed at that time. They put me in the supply room for a while, the electronic supply room. So I went and told them I wanted to go overseas. And that was arranged. They had a shipping squadron. I went in for about a week and then up to New Jersey and got new outfits and new clothing and all prepared until we were over on the Liberty ship, which was going over to pick up sick and wounded. So we didn't have to do any work on the ship. We had waiters working feeding us.
Oh, wow.
One incident there, I was told that I had to go to there was a stateroom with a special officer in there. And he had secret material, apparently. So they took me down to the stateroom, put on a shoulder holster pistol, and they put a chain on his briefcase, and he went out for a couple hours. So I sat there guarding his equipment. I think maybe that's because they checked my record, see I had the sharpshooter pistol.
Wow.
So, I don't know. So we played a lot of pinochle on the ship, so it took 14 days
Wow. That's how long it took to go
to go over.
across the ocean? Oh, my goodness.
And it was a smoother ride. And we got to England, the ship stopped in the channel off the White Cliffs of Dover, you could see them there. And a pilot boat came out to guide us in through the channel. I guess there were sunken ships and stuff, and maybe mines, I don't know. So they guided us into Bremerhaven.
So you stopped in England, and then you went from England through France
Well,
into
we stopped
Germany?
we didn't go into England, we stopped in the...
Just stopped in the channel,
The ocean.
okay.
The ship just stopped, anchored, and then we went on into Germany.
So you just went right to Germany? You didn't even have to go through France then?
No.
Okay. So you were in Germany the entire time?
Am I in this one?
Yeah.
Well, other than that, in the school,
Right.
the radar school, and, yeah, I was in Germany.
Okay.
19 months, I think.
Wow, wow.
There was another incident, it was at the time that the Jews were starting to move into Palestine, and they took one of our planes and painted it all white. I took a picture of it here. To the part of the UN to go over and try to negotiate settlement there.
Wow.
And it came back, there was a few bullet holes in it, and that's
Yeah.
different. But there was a lot of little things that occurred. Almost got hit by a plane a couple times.
Tell us about that. Almost getting hit by a plane is
Well,
kind of a
one
big
time,
deal.
the buck sergeant and I were in the Jeep, and we were in the night, and we were going over to check a plane on the other side of the field. And the runway, 2/3 of the way down the runway, there was a road crossing over to the other side, which we weren't supposed to use. So we turned on to that, and we started to go out, and I says, the sergeant's name was Smitty. I said, Smitty, sometimes the planes turn off here. He said, no, they don't turn off here. I said, yeah, one was landing. I said, I think he might, you gotta be careful. Well, sure enough, the plane turned off there, and he slammed on the gas and shot off into the grass. The plane just missed us.
Oh my gosh.
And if I had mentioned it to him, he probably would not have been alerted to the fact that it might, turn.
Yeah. Wow.
And another time, between the hangars, they were building a new one, but they had kind of abandoned it for a while. And they had cables stretched out across the taxiway. And I was driving the Jeep at night, and the plane was taxiing towards us, so I pulled up right tight to the steel girder laying on the ground there. When the plane got up close to us, he must have seen the cable, and he decided to give it more room. He didn't see us. And he turned towards us. I thought, oh my God, he's going to hit us. I think the wing just wiped the top of the Jeep when it went by.
Wow.
But a little exciting.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like you had a basically good experience.
Oh, it was great.
Being
yeah.
there.
Used to call the tower and say Air Force 8876 or something like that. FNM check and able, and do it back, So we had quite a time.
Now, were you in Germany when Hitler had committed suicide? Had he died prior to you getting there?
No, I think he died before the surrender.
Okay. Yeah, he did, right before the surrender,
Yeah.
so,
And so he was young. But the trials were on. I wasn't aware of the trials, but the Nuremberg trials were on, where they were trying all the high.
Right. so were you there when those were going on?
I wasn't aware of them very much,
Okay.
but I was there. And, when we rode down through Germany I went to the Repo Depot to be assigned, you could see some of the cities were leveled for miles, it was just kind of bad. Wiesbaden wasn't so bad because it wasn't an industrial city. Which Wiesbaden was on the Rhine, so we're right near the Rhine River.
So, yeah, you would have seen a lot of the destruction.
Oh, we did. It was right after we got the Liberty ship, we were loaded on a train, taken to the Repo Depot. And photographed, and I got pictures of it.
Oh,
How
good.
bad I looked because we rode all night, and my hair was all curly and everything. We stayed there for almost a week, cutting each other's hair. Most of the time, the Air Force guys traveled in groups of about 8 or 10. The rest were infantry, regular Army soldiers. So we were kind of separated from them. And it was about a year and a half or so after I was in that the Air Force was formally separated from the Army Air Corps. In fact, my discharge paper still says Army. And my serial number changed from RA, regular Army, to AF, Air Force.
Wow, that's interesting.
So it was kind of in the birth of the Air Force there. But, yeah, it was exciting times.
So would you recommend the military to young people today?
Well, if you didn't have to go and get shot at, I don't believe in that. Actually, I just read something recently that there were more Air Force men killed in the war than infantry,
Wow.
because I guess of all the bombings that were Germany and such. But of course, I was in maintenance, so that wouldn't affected me.
It sounds like you had a nice experience.
Yeah, and we learned to shoot the pistol, machine gun, and the carbines. You gotta go firing range and do all that. So it was very interesting.
Do you have a question?
Yeah. You said you were posted in Germany during the war, right? But wasn't that an enemy country during World War II?
We were occupying Germany.
Oh, okay. So you had occupied.
We had,
part of-
there was, what do they call it, I won't say territories, they weren't called territories, the areas of occupation by the three major companies that ended the war, up in the war. So we had, so we were all in separate areas. We had, in Bremen, we had what we called an enclave. So the Americans had that port to come in and out of. But, yeah, it was, you know, they had to set up a new government, reorganize it. And, they didn't know how the Germans were going to react, you know, after the war. So that was part of it, I guess.
So this is when the British occupied part of it, the U.S.
Yeah,
occupied
well,
part of it, and the Russians occupied part of it,
Wish I
right?
could think of what they called it. Yeah. It, they had the separate territories, enclaves, I guess. No, not enclaves. Anyway, Berlin was separated the same way. British territory, American, and Russian. So it was a fairly large area, but it was within the Russian territory. It's like an island within the Russian territory.
Right.
So that was where the problem was created.
So were you there then when Russia finally backed off of
Yeah. No, I was there, like I said, for, I don't know, it was 4 months or so into the airlift, and then my time was up.
Okay, so the airlift was still going on
Yes,
when you
yeah.
left
Yeah.
then? Okay, all right.
The
So
camera's running out of battery.
how much time?
It's, we've just got on to our 40th minute and there's only like a little bit of power left. It's on red.
Okay, that's all right. 'Cause
With
we're
all
about,
the flying going on, there were some planes were crashing. Some put their wheels up, but they were still on the ground.
that's fine. Now, the only thing that I think, is there anything else that you have to tell us?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, because I'll take pictures of everything. Any other questions from you guys? You have to leave, right?
I have a question.
Okay.
They ask the questions when they look at the pictures.
Oh, yeah.
Did you ever see the enemy?
Do what?
Did you ever see the enemy? Were you ever near them at all? Did you ever see people?
Well, they were prisoners. They were not I was not a combatant. I was a engineer, or a repair, maintenance person. So we never got into that. As far as the radar training went, the equipment I was trained for was only in the United States. So that's why they put me in the radio shack, work out radios.
Very neat.
So
Very interesting.
it got very interesting.
What did you get your medals for again?
World War II Victory Medal, that's this one.
Okay.
Army of Occupation Medal, and the Mr. Sharpshooter.
Okay. What's the story about why it's taken so long to get your medals?
I was awarded the medals, but they weren't given me. And so finally I stopped down to the VA office in Utica, and she ordered, and this one came in, and the others is on back order.
Okay.
But the medals are listed on this sheet.
Yep. All right, so before we look at this information, why don't you say what I need you to say in the beginning? Remember this, my name is Morgan Humphries.
I think we're cutting out our voices.
We are, but we need to have that in the beginning, just so we know what we're doing.
We can just
Okay.
move it
So
to
just,
the
we'll
beginning.
just clip it and move it to the front of it.
Oh, okay.
So you just need to say, remember what you're supposed to say?
Hello, my name is Morgan Humphries, and I'm interviewing.
You remember that?
You're interviewing Charles Newton
Okay.
for the Veterans History Club at Perry Junior High.
My grandfather.
Yeah, there you go, my grandfather, say that, yeah. Okay, and then today's date.
Wait, what is his date?
Okay,
It's
it's February 7th.
Okay. Hello, my name is Morgan Humphries, and I'm interviewing my grandfather. This is February 7th, 2012, for Perry Junior High Veterans History Club.
And his name is?
His name is Charles Sr. Charles Newton.
Okay. You want to try, you want to say it again? Okay.
Right,
Why don't you say it all over again? Okay, now say when you say I'm interviewing my grandfather, say Charles Newton.
Okay.
Okay.
My name is Morgan Humphries, and I am interviewing my grandfather, Charles Newton Sr., for the Perry Junior High Veterans History Club on February 7th, 2012.
Perfect. Nicely done.
Wow, that was hard.
Okay, so now see, she's going to be in charge of editing this film. So you can go ahead and turn it off now,